Here's what to do if you're finished for the most part sanding and you don't want to add any discoloration to the parts you've already done, and you find something you need to fix. Probably silly, but just add a couple pieces of tape over your good wood. So here's a crack in here, right up there, on that seam. So I think that's the only one. It's going to add a little bit of tape. Heated hide glue. So these are the pieces of wood that I picked up to replace that little band that's on the inside part of the footboard. That piece had broken off early. It was broken in half, and so I was going to try to fix it, but I couldn't. So I decided to buy more wood, and this is, geez, I have to look at the tag. It's a bit of an exotic wood, sort of, a bit expensive. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. Goncalo Alves. It's pretty. And when I got it back and looked at it, I just thought it kind of gave me more of an idea of the design. So let me show you what I'm thinking. I'm going to use two different color stains, one a dark brown and one a warm brown. And so my plan, which might change because that's how it is. You do it and then you say, oh, I think it needs more here or less there or whatever. You just kind of go with the flow of what the piece is kind of telling you. But my plan is to do the dark on the two side pieces that are horizontal with their grain, and then do the light stain in the middle. I may do some kind of something here, but I'm not sure. This will be the lighter stain, I believe, and this will be the darker stain. Sorry. And then the bottom will be the same. The bottom, I'm planning on doing the dark stain. I might like it a bit warmed up, so if that chocolatey brown is too brown, I'll figure it out when I get to it. So, yep. I'm going to start with some sprayed on shellac so that I can prepare my surface. This is as good as I can get as far as getting off stains, and that wood just isn't that nice, and there are just a lot of scratches on it. I tried ironing them out and I sanded them as much as I could, but that veneer is so fragile, I don't want to sand through it. So I think that's as good as it's going to get. So let's start with the shellac. Waiting for a second coat to dry. So I'm getting ready to put the stain on, or stains, and I have everything covered with plastic. I mean, I'm not too worried about the moving blankets, but why ruin them if you can avoid it? So I put some plastic bags underneath it. And I'm beginning to tape off just these first sections. I just want to this is my first section that I'm going to do in the dark stain. So it will almost be my test section. Now, so the stain is going to be in here, dark, and then this section will also be dark, but I don't want it to go up over the lip of this part. So I want to see how it goes on, and yeah, I'll kind of figure it out from there. You know, if a little bit of stain got on these trims, I'm not really going to worry about it because they're going to be decorated. So yeah, so let's keep going. Now my taping and separation of the warm and the cool, I'm being careful with because I'm not sure what I'm going to get. But you'll see that it's very, very mild. And so I ended up not even really having to use tape. But it's not a bad idea to be careful. It's a lot easier to apply more than it is to remove some. So yeah, and this seemed to work out pretty good. I'm glad that I was careful in the beginning just to see what I was going to get. I left it to dry for about 20 minutes, which wasn't really long enough. But that's okay. Like I say, it's better to apply more than it is to have to think you're removing it. So it's still drying. It's not the results that I hoped for. I'd actually hoped that that would be a bit darker. Um, so, and I guess the good thing about it is it's not that dark and it's easy to remove. So I think I can be less careful as I do the rest of it. So I'm going to start working on the lighter color, which is the teak. It's a bar color. They're not bad. They're oil stains. At least I haven't thought so. It's thought that they've been too bad so far. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed. But this should dry to the touch in about an hour. And I can put on a second coat. Now, maybe a second coat will be what it needs. I don't know. So let's see. I have two rags here, one for the dark stain and one for the white. So this is overnight, and I think it's nice, but these sections don't look different enough. This took the stain pretty well, but it's not that dark. So I'll tell you what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be dark. This is lighter. This is dark. This is light. This is dark. These are dark. And the sides are dark. And it's the same way at the headboard, which you can see that this is supposed to be dark. It's not that dark, but look at the rails. Now the rails came out really nice because they're a different species of wood. And yeah, they took the stain really well. It's not surprising that the maple doesn't take the stain. We know that. But I thought this would take the stain a little bit better. So today I'm going to tint my stain, not the nice warm one, but the darker stain. I'm going to put some pigment in it. I'm going to test just a little bit of the stain first to make sure that that actually works. So let's start doing that. Okay, so I have the raw umber, which doesn't have any red in it. So, and then I have my stain from yesterday. So I'm going to just try a little bit. I'm going to pour some oil in this glass. I'll have to stir this up a little bit first. I am going to run over and get my mask. Not too much. It definitely makes a difference. The untouched one first. Okay, let's see if we can tell the difference. I think it picked up a little darker in some of the different grain. I don't know. the surfaces that you want. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just leave it as it is. And once I put, all my finished products on, I think it's really going to be beautiful. It's not exactly what I had thought, but I can see the difference, although it's subtle. Very subtle difference between different patterns in the green. And I think it enhances it really nicely. And I still have more design to do on it, so we're not done yet. Yeah, I still have some good plans. And then where I like to use wax and oils for finished products as well. So right now, today, I think what I'm going to do is put an oil finish on it and let that soak overnight. And then Friday, not sure, but we'll see. We'll see how long it takes that oil to dry. And really, I would need a good, several days. And there's some color correction I have to do as well. Hold on. So there are all these fills here that have to be color corrected. And I have some veneer that was entered in there. The back side of this also needs to be finished. So I'm going to flip this over right now and give that a coat of my darker stain. The back, interestingly, is not maple, it's mahogany. And I wish they did the front in mahogany. It's just so beautiful. But it did have a little piece of broken veneer that I fixed yesterday with a piece of mahogany. And yeah, let's keep our design going. I repaired it even though it's on the inside, just because. This is 240. There's a little dip in it. If my mahogany, my veneer was much thinner, okay. My gloves are. Okay. Okay, so let's make sure that that's stuck. That's good. And because there's still like a little bit of deviation there, I'm going to fill it with a little putty. And I think I'll use some regular putty first. So I decided to only use the walrus oil on these side rails because I didn't think it would dry that well. Plus, the oil on the oil, I'm expecting it to take a little bit of color off, just because like dissolves like. So I'm sure when I go over these side rails, I'm going to lift some of my stain. It's been drying 24 hours, which is fine. It's a pretty much a light coat. And so, yeah, I'm going to remove that. And for the rest of the bed, I'm going to give it a light sand. And then I'm going to do a clear coat acrylic finish and then some waxes over it. There are many repair spots here. I start to layer up my colors as I usually do, but it doesn't happen as smoothly as I expect. It's definitely not a breeze through this time. I'm doing the usual layering of oranges and browns with the pens and the liners. Here's yellow oxide. This is a pigment I diluted with denatured alcohol. When I started putting this on, I thought this was it. But then it really started pushing my browns out and just washing them out. After watching the video pieces here, I think I have one more idea to try before I just give in and call it as good as it gets. Tomorrow I will mix the yellow oxide with some other pigments to see if I can tone it down. I wish I had thought of it today instead of pulling my hair out. Okay, this might work. So I mixed yellow oxide, raw umber, and burnt umber, and it's mostly yellow oxide. So let's see if I can color up some of this brown and red. It keeps grabbing the red and the brown. You probably can't see it. My hand is in the way. Here I'm doing a light coat of the Howard Citrus Shield clear beeswax. Thank you for watching this week's video. Um, Even though it was this week's video, it took me several weeks to finish this bed. This is a bed that I'm keeping, and although it didn't come out exactly the way I was picturing, it came out the way the bed wanted to come out. And so I accept that. Um, I had been thinking that some of these different angles of grain would be darker versus lighter because I used two different stains. Um, and it did. You can see the slight difference. It's very subtle. One looks a little more brown. The other you can tell is very warm. It had a lot of small damage. It wasn't broken, but it just had a lot of scratches and digs and missing veneer. It's pretty old. It's not an antique, but I want to say that the tag says 1938, so it's up there. And the waterfall style. And of course, Art Deco is coming back. It never really goes out of style because it's just beautiful and somewhat glamorous. And so what I did with this is I did the different color stains, and then I enhanced it with some gilding wax and some black wax. So I have black wax on the sides and in some of the uh, angles where the wood meets, but it's very subtle. Um, and then the gold wax, I had a plan. I knew I was going to use gold gilding wax. I thought about using gold leaf, but I didn't want it that bright and sparkly. I wanted it to be very subtle. So it is subtle. And I sort of had a plan with some of the details of what I was going to do gold, but I never really have an exact plan. So I just kind of let it happen naturally. And so it just kind of grows. I put a little bit here and a little bit there, and then I decide, like, does it need more, or am I getting it? I also fixed the piece on the inside of the bed with two pieces of wood. Where there was a small 1 inch slat, I now have, it's probably about a 3 inch piece of wood. Looks great. I love the way it came out. And when the bed is made, it's going to be so pretty. And with the gilding wax on the side rails, it won't matter if you use a coverlet, and some people like to tuck the bed skirt underneath the rail. I don't. I usually leave it over. But when the person is getting into bed and they pull back the bed linens, they'll be able to see the gold gilding wax. So I think that will be pretty, a nice little surprise. So I hope you're following me on Instagram. Not so much that I want followers on Instagram. That's nice. But the reason I say that is because I'll have more photos once I get this bed upstairs in my house and get the the box spring on it and get it all made up and get the other bed out and just remake the room. I'll be posting pictures so you'll be able to see what it looks like all done. So yeah, thank you again. If you watched all the way, I really appreciate it. I know it was long and there was a lot of different things that were going on. So yeah, thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I wish you all good and beautiful things. Take care.